Update. This is literally like, I don't know, a couple hundred feet since I crossed the creek. And I saw this and I'm like, you know what? No, I don't know about that. So I went over here where there was other tracks and it looked a little bit more solid and... Hey there, and welcome to another Klapt out adventure. Today I'm going to be telling you the story of how I ended up burying my Jeep to the axles in the middle of nowhere and ultimately having to be rescued. This story begins the day prior with a few members of my off-road club to scout out how far we can make it up the Mount Patterson Trail in the Sweetwater Mountains. Now I don't actually have a lot of video from this day, so bear with me on all the photos as I catch you up to speed. We began our ascent up the west side of the mountain with the hopes of at least making it to Lobedell Lake. On the way up, we encountered a few challenges such as this rut that nearly swallowed half my Jeep or finding our way around this snowbank. But eventually, we did reach our goal of making it to the lake. After a quick lunch, we continued on to the official start of the Mount Patterson Trail, but was quickly greeted by the sight of an impassable snowbank blocking the trail just up ahead, thus ending that scouting mission. From that point, the other two decided to turn back for home. Me, on the other hand, I continued on as I had planned on spending the rest of the day and the next exploring the northern half of the Sweetwater, which for the most part went well. I did slide into another deep rut at one point, but I was able to pull myself out just fine. Towards the end of the day, I started making my way towards camp for the night, but not before being caught up in a local traffic jam. Just as the sun was starting to slip behind the mountain, I made it into camp, or rather the wilderness cabin I was staying at for the night. Cooked a steak over the fire, drank a beer, and off to bed I went. The next morning, I wasted no time setting off to continue my exploration. I turned off onto Taylor Valley Road and made my way towards Jackass Flat. My goal was to explore some trails on the west slope of the mountain and end up in Antelope Valley. I got as far as to turn off to Wild Horse Springs Trail, but was quickly stopped by the massive rut running down the already narrow trail. I'm talking like ruts several feet deep. There's no way I was prepared to navigate that sort of terrain alone, so I decided to follow a road labeled as 22423 back to Taylor Valley Road, and that's where I started to document the events that you're about to see. Well, it says I'm on a road, or trail, or something, but hell if I ever seen one. Must have been freaking ages since somebody last traveled on this one. So, I don't know, I mean, I'm on a road. I can faintly see some tracks. Well, hopefully this takes me back to the main road. I'm trying to get back to that blue line up there. So, we'll see. Ooh, getting a little wet. Hey, that looks like a road. There we go. Well, here's the road that I need. Right here, and I'm over there, and I don't see any roads connecting to the, if you even want to call it a road, that came out right there. And to make it even worse, I've got this little creek in my way, which it's not really, you know, I can cross it. Problem is, I don't really know how soft this is. Like, I'm sinking in and I'm 180. That's like, I don't know, 2,500, 3,000 pounds. And there's really not a whole lot to winch to if I sink down into the mud. So it's kind of a weird situation. Actually, I don't know if you can see the faint white line right there. That's the road that I'm trying to get to. That does cross the creek. Maybe I can just kind of skirt along this hill until I get to it. It's not exactly friendly towards the vegetation, but I'm not really seeing much of a choice here, being that there's the road that is supposed to exist doesn't really exist. So, I don't know. Okay, well, I'm almost to that road, but I found an area right here that looks kind of solid going across the creek. Just throw that in for good measure. I don't think I'm gonna have an issue getting across this. Oh, no, not at all. All right, cool. I'm legal again. I'm back on a road. Woohoo! Update. This is literally like, I don't know, a couple hundred feet since I crossed the creek. And I saw this and I'm like, well, first I started going into it and I'm like, oh, you know what? No, I don't know about that. So I went over here where there was other tracks and it looked a little bit more solid, and I'm letting the air tank fill up so I can lock the front, I'll lock the rear and see if I can get any movement. If not, I'm gonna have to get creative because, like I said before, there's nothing to winch to out here. And I've got no cell service. I've got my spot, so I mean I can get a hold of somebody, but I don't know, this is fun. So I've heard the myth and I've seen some pictures and stuff like that on the internet. I know, go into internet methods. To self-recover yourself in a situation like this where there's absolutely nothing whatsoever to winch to, is to dig a hole and stick your spare tire into it and winch off of that. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I've got a little shovel. I'm going to start digging, because if not, I'm going to have to call for some help. All right, so dug a hole with my little tiny Amazon shovel for I got for 20 bucks. It did the job. And keep in mind that's a 33-inch tire, so that's about 2 to 2.5 feet deep. Wasn't too difficult digging through this, but I got down to the clay and then it started to get difficult. So I got my tree saver wrapped around the two bottom spokes down there. That way, when it's tugging, it'll hopefully be pulling the tire against the wall here instead of up and out. That's what I don't want to have happen. So let's get this all hooked up, see if I can get myself out. All right, here goes nothing. All right, take two. I honestly don't have high hopes for this, but what I did was I wrapped the tree saver around just like the whole entire outer part of the tire through the spoke, so it's pulling from the very bottom of the tire instead of the middle of the tire. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. That way all the force that's being applied to it is really from the bottom of the tire, and it's going to be pulling, or more like, yeah, pulling the tire against the wall instead of giving it lateral motion up and out. So let's give us another shot. Well, that didn't work either. At this point, I'd given up on the spare tire anchor idea. I think it would have worked if the ground was just a little bit more solid, but this ground was just way too wet and soft and just plowing the tire through the soil. Well, it's, I don't know, what time is it? For almost 5 o'clock, dang. So I got stuck about 1:30, 1:45-ish, and now it's 5 o'clock. So I didn't film this part, but there was a couple of UTVs that came by, and they attempted to not necessarily pull me out, but basically offered to be an anchor for me to try and winch out. Yeah, that didn't work one bit. The Jeep just did not budge 1 centimeter because those UTVs are just too light. And on top of that, I dug in even further. So I sent out my a little SO. Not. Let me rephrase that. I sent out a message to all of my peeps in the club. Definitely not the SOS button. I didn't send out an SOS, but I sent out a message saying, "Hey, I'm stuck," and they've formulated a little rescue party, and they'll be here in a couple hours. So from, I don't know, it's basically just sitting and doing nothing. But at least it's not blazing hot out. So I got that. I don't know, maybe I'll go up there and play in the snow. Who knows? In a couple hours. All right, the time is now 6:30-ish, and I am still waiting. The last ETA that I heard from the rescue party was about 7:30 to 8. You can see my Jeep way down there. Yes, I have been chilling on this snowbank, or snowdrift, rather. Might as well call it a glacier at this point. It's freaking, July 6th, and we still got snow out here. This is only 8,000 feet. Usually you see this stuff at like 10,000 feet or something like that this time of year. But anyway, just trying to keep myself occupied because it is boring. Got no cell service, so I don't know. Let's go skiing. Come on. Went to a creek. That wasn't really graceful. That was a little bit better, but it still sucked. Progress report. The sun has disappeared behind the mountain. Even got our first star way up there. It is now almost 9 o'clock. It'll zoom in. Almost 9 o'clock. Current temperature is just shy of 57 degrees. Still haven't received help, but I hear them. They are on the radio. Coming in very staticky. I'm pretty sure they are already making their way up the canyon, just because I've heard about how crappy the road is, and the road up here is pretty crappy. But yeah, it's been 3 hours since the last progress report, but I've just been chilling, listening to 105.7 MOZZ, Reno's Classic Rock, and just hanging tight. Help should be here any moment now. But that was far from the truth. So let me explain the situation from the rescuer's perspective. When I sent out my initial message through Spot, it also sent out my exact coordinates, which is good. That means they can open up any map and figure out exactly where I am and choose the best route to get to me. However, in addition to the attached coordinates, it also sent a clickable link that takes you to Google Maps and can deceive you with terrible directions to those coordinates. Having never received any messages from a Spot before, my rescuers saw the Google directions and thought that I myself was the one that chose that route for them, and being that they were over a couple hours away, they both left as soon as they could, blindly following the directions that Google gave them. Can you see where this is going? They both made it to Walker just fine, but instead of Google taking them through the well-maintained, two-wheel drive friendly Risu Road, it sent them up Ricky Canyon, along a long, sandy, boulder-strewn four-wheel drive trail. Along the way, one of the Jeeps nearly got themselves stuck, and amongst that situation blew the bead off of a wheel. After the spare was put on, they both made it to Desert Creek. However, that's where Google completely dropped the ball. Despite my location being way up here, Google kept telling them that I was way down yonder off in this direction. Not only were they being led farther away from me, but they were also being led straight into danger. You see, there are several places in that direction where the then swollen Desert Creek intersects with the road, resulting in some unsuspectingly deep water crossings, and yeah, I'm sure you can guess what happened. They made it through 2 of the crossings just fine, but the third one swallowed the lead Jeep, flooding not only the interior, but the engine as well. Of course, without the ability to communicate with them via cell or radio, I was at the time clueless of their perils, and, well, that leads us to this next update. Alright, update. Again, as you can see, it is completely pitch black. I'll just shine the headlights really quick. Yep, it's pitch black out there. It is, let me tap a button on my watch, 10:08. They are lost. They cannot find me. They have supposedly probably put in the wrong coordinates. Just simple human error, and as a result, they can't find me. So, here I sit. Every once in a while I hear them on the radio, and they can kind of sort of hear me, like they know it's me, but they can't really understand me because my radio is not powerful enough to broadcast out. Their radio is a little bit more powerful, so I can hear them, they just can't hear me, which is crappy because they don't know where to go and I can't tell them where to go. I have been in constant communication with a couple of people, so, and that's, you know, again, with the spot, it's the only way I can communicate right now. I have no cell service, so I can't call anybody. So yeah, now we just wait. Tell you what, I'm definitely not going to work tomorrow, that's for sure, because it's still probably another 3 hours from this spot to drive home, and that's minus airing up, unpacking all the mud out of the tires and wheels so I can actually drive home without it being like a massaging chair. I might just end up, well, I mean, obviously if they can't find me, I might just end up camping again. Maybe just sleeping right here in the seat, I don't know. Or if they do find me, when we do get out, I might just find a hotel and crash for the night and go home in the morning. So, I'll keep you posted. Bob, can you hear me? Bob, come in. Yep, see, I can barely hear them, but they can't hear me. Bob, Paul, can you hear me? So the time is now 11:05. So I've been stuck here since 1:30 or something like that, and now it's 11:05. I'm not even gonna try and count how many hours that is, like 9, 10 hours, I don't know. I'm tired. But you know what? I finally got a hold of my rescue party. I don't know if you can see, but there are some headlights that are finally starting to pop over the hill. He's just around the corner. Come on, buddy, you're right there. You're right around the corner. And you can see the lights on the hill.
You can go to parking lights.
There he is. Finally. Rescue's here. With how dark and cold it was, and with the rescue party pretty much being cut down to half, I didn't really get much of an opportunity to document the extraction. But to quickly summarize what happened, we first tried winching out to no avail. Like the UTV from before, it was just dragging the rescue Jeep without so much as nudging my Jeep one bit. We then broke out a couple of high lift jacks and were able to lift the whole front of the Jeep up high enough out of the mud to stick some traction boards under the wheels. With newfound grip and the assistance of the winch, the old clapped out Cherokee was finally able to claw its way out to solid ground. Alright, final progress report. It is 12:15. It is officially the next day, and as you can see, I am out. I am driving. The rescue party is up ahead with me. Unfortunately, one of them died. I shouldn't say that. One of the vehicles kind of died. They went For some reason, the coordinates that I sent out with my spot sent them down some weird way, and that involved this Jeep in front of me going into a creek that was way deeper than it should have been, and water ended up going up and over the hood, and engine took on water. Engine's not seized, but the oil's full of water, so it is being towed out just to be on the safe side. We gotta tow it out to pavement, get that towed. But I think this saga is finally coming to an end. Well, sort of. I won't go into too much detail on what happened next, but in a nutshell, I obliged to give the disabled Jeep guy a ride home. We ended up waiting on the side of the highway for the tow until about 9 a.m. In that time, I did manage to get about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of sleep reclined in the driver's seat, but it was a far cry from the good night's rest that I needed. After the dead Jeep was taken away, we got a bite to eat in Bridgeport, and I commenced the 3-hour drive feeling drunk from sleep deprivation. It was right around 1:30, or 24 hours after getting stuck, that I finally pulled into the driveway and went straight to bed for a much-needed nap. Thanks for tuning in to this adventure. No. It was definitely a misadventure, but still fun overall. And you know, it's misadventures like these that end up making stories that you'll be telling for years on end. So long as you don't die from your misadventures. Don't do that. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, well, you know what to do. Have a good one out there and safe travels.